All right, so hello everyone. My name is Brad Powell. I'm the Technology and Media Initiatives Coordinator for the Noel Studio, soon to be transferring over to the director role. Today I'm going to be showing you about Microsoft Bookings. So Microsoft Bookings is a scheduling platform that I've been using quite a lot, especially with our One Button Studio. I will show you exactly how it works and basically what you can do with it. Think of it like an integrated calendar system for our Outlook environments. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Should be able to see this. Yeah. So looking at this is the base homepage essentially of what Microsoft Bookings looks like. I'm going to put a link in the chat if you want to follow along with that, just to see what it looks like as a viewer. So if you click on that link, it'll take you to this page right here. So essentially I have it set up to where I have 4 different services, quote unquote. So you can use these for office hours or like registrations for meetings or whatever have you. So I have set up a 4-hour block, a 3-hour block, a 2-hour block, and a 1-hour block, whatever you choose. So I want to reserve 1 hour in the One Button Studio. You can select a staff member. This is optional. So if you had, for example, at the Writing Center at Noel Studio, we could assign consultants to specific meetings, or if we did consultations on, we had a lot of staff that did consultations, I could assign them to that. And I can select the date and time. Now this date and time is automatically synced with my calendar. So if I have a meeting, Thursday at 9:30 a.m., this would not be an option. So that's one thing I really like about Microsoft Bookings. It's automatically synchronized with your Outlook calendar already. So it just completely omits any duplicate events. And you can also set buffer time. So if you want it to be like 15 minutes before and after each meeting you have to be completely unblockable, it won't let you block on that time as well. Then down at the bottom, I select my date and time that I like. I just add in my details. You can customize all of this information here. You do not have to have phone number. You don't have to have the email if you want their department when they register. If it's a student, you want their major, you can customize all of this information. And as well as you can provide additional information. So if you want them to attach a file or put anything custom, like for example, I put these 2 custom fields here. What will you be using the One Button Studio for? We have moved over to Slate for this booking system, so we're not using this for Microsoft Bookings anymore, but I did use this for about 4 or 5 months and I really liked it. So once you hit book, it's going to automatically send me a calendar invite and it's going to put a calendar invite on you. So we both book that time immediately and we get several updated information. So if you want to check out Microsoft Bookings yourself, I'm going to copy and paste another link in the chat. This is where you can go to sign on to do that. Again, it's connected to your EQ account. It's free. It's not something you have to pay for. It's just all already integrated. So it's just as simple as signing in and activating it. So how does it work? So whenever you click on that link and you sign in, you have this homepage here. Had a question chat. If we schedule meetings for someone else, would we be able to sync this to an additional calendar? Yes, you can set where it said assign staff. You can assign if it has an email. So for example, we have the FCT&L account. I could assign that staff member as the FCT&L and that would sync with the FCT&L email, if that makes sense. So again, on this page here, I have one for the One Button Studio, one for a test one I did for just myself. So we're going to create a brand new one. So once you can create one from something that already exists. So if I want to clone the One Button Studio one and create a new one, I'm just going to create one from scratch. All right, now we want to give it a name. So this is, I'm going to do one-on-one consultations. If I had a logo, like a department logo, I could add that here. Got the FCT&L one right there. I can choose my business type. So this part really doesn't matter at all. So you can see how this is more for businesses, but we just do education. Business hours, this is the time at which you want them to be able to block a time frame at. So if you only want it during your actual office hours when you're on campus, I can just set it to be, if I'm only in on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. There we go, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays. So those are my office hours technically for students. And I want them to only be able to reserve that time. I could do that. So I can invite staff. So if I have other people like an administrative coordinator or student workers that I want to help with manage this calendar, or for example, for sharing it with someone else, you can add the people in your organization to this list right here. And you can also change their roles. So for example, I'm an administrator, or I can make them a guest, or so on and so forth. So I have Cassie here, make Cassie a scheduler where she can only check the schedule and make things changes there. Ideal for a student worker, a team member, make some light edits, and then an administrator, which can create and delete and have more superpowers. So we got our staff, set up a service. Service is an appointment type. So we've created an initial appointment type so you can customize as you see fit. So this is where you saw that those 4 different blocks I had on that last one, the 1 hour, the 2 hour, the 3 hour, the 4 hour. So by default, let's just call this one consultation. And I want those to last 30 minutes, sure. And it's only available again during my office hours during that Tuesday, Thursday block. And you can default it to a Teams meeting, or you can add a Zoom link to the whatever your preference is. I prefer Zoom, so I'm just going to turn that off. Update the service. Okay. Got our service. Confirm that. Yep, that is what I want. So now I can set who can book an appointment. Do I want it to only be from people on my team? So people that I add to my scheduling service, like administrative coordinator or Cassie or whoever, or do I want it to be people at EKU? So anyone with an EKU email address can access this calendar and make an invite, or do I want to open it up to the public? So this might be helpful if you're working with students, because oftentimes they're not always signed into their Microsoft account. Might help edge off some of the questions you get, like, oh, I don't have access, or can you share it with me, so on. This is usually a good default to go to, as long as there's no sensitive information. So I'm going to set that up to where anyone can do so. They don't have to sign in. They just have to provide their email address inside the registration itself.
So you mentioned Zoom. Are you going to show where you would set it up as a Zoom meeting as well?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Good question. Anyone else have any questions while we're waiting on this? Okay, so it looks like here it's giving me the link already. So if I wanted to, I could stop right here. I could just take this copy paste link and send that to a student, or put that on my website, put this wherever, or even put it at you as a footer to your email address, right? So whenever it has your signature at the bottom, you can say, book an appointment with me, and just copy and paste that link into there. So whenever I click on that link right now, it's going to take me to this page. We got our nice fancy logo at the top. We got the name of the service, and we only have one type of service right now, which is that one 30-minute session. So you can see right here, grab some time with us in an appointment. We can customize that. And there's a confirmation emails that you can send out to, which is where I would put the Zoom meetings. So same thing as we saw before. Let's customize it. So now, got a little feedback thing. I don't want to do that right now. This is the calendar. This will automatically be synced with your calendar, but it's not showing any of the events that I have right now. So this is specifically for this consultation service that I have created. But if I were to make an event, say today and I can do this manually since I don't, even if it's without my office hours. So like I can go like 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., a great time for a meeting. And right now it's saying I can't assign, or it's just warning me if I assign Brad to this, he's off work after 11 a.m. So if somebody's scheduling you for something, you could say that's outside my office hours, and it'll let them know. But since I'm an administrator, I can force that meeting to happen. So here under service location, I can give any kind of room. I usually just put Zoom for this. That way the recipient knows that it is a virtual meeting. And I would add the Zoom link right here. I keep a sticky note on my desktop that has all the links to the Zoom meetings that we use. So I just copy and paste that link right there. And also I can do an email reminder. So if I want to do, which I recommend doing, like at least an hour before, or at least 30 minutes before, most an hour before, just saying like, hey, we have a meeting, here's the Zoom link again, and I'll see you there. Then you can do a follow-up email. So this is what I used for the One Button Studio, to where on this reminder email, I would send it a day before. And inside that email, it would give them a link to a Google Drive folder. And on that folder, they could upload their PowerPoint, they can upload any kind of material they want inside the One Button Studio. And that folder is automatically synced with the computer in there. So when they upload that to that folder, they just walk in and their stuff is there. Then on the flip side, on the follow-up email, I send them a link to another Google Drive folder that is synced with the output of the One Button Studio. So once they record their video and they're finished, that video gets sent to them immediately after, and that's all automated. I don't have to physically touch any of that stuff. I do just in case, but it's nice to know that you can default on that. So this is all manual stuff. Say I don't want to do this every single time I schedule a meeting. So we're going to discard these changes. And over on the left, we have the booking page. This is where you can get customize that link. So if I want to change it back to just EKU only, copy and paste the link here. They got some settings you can change. Under customers, this is where you can keep track of all the people that you've had meetings with. So this keeps a running log of everyone that's ever registered bookings with you. You got staff. So if I wanted to add more people to this meeting or to this service, I could do that. I want to keep it just myself for right now. And again, we have the services. So this is the one I want to edit. So whenever they click on a consultation service, I can change exactly what happens. So here's that grab some time with us an appointment. I don't want that. I want a one-on-one session with Brad regarding technology and media. And here I can add that location again to Zoom. And if I click on online meeting, that will just make it a Teams invite. So if you prefer Microsoft Teams, it'll automatically send out a notification and invite to that. But again, I don't use that. I just use Zoom. The duration, I can customize that again. Here's that buffer time I was talking about. The buffer time means you can't have back-to-back consultations. So somebody can't schedule 30 minutes with you from 8:30 or 8 to 8:30, and then another student schedule 8:30 to 9 to give you just a little bit of time and breathing room in between them. And you can set that as little or as long as you like. Do you want an hour buffer time? Whatever works best for you. You can price it. So we'd all love to put a little price tag on that, but I'll keep that as courses nothing. And there's where you can add the notes. Let's see, this will be a Zoom meeting. We will meet here. And I don't have to put the Zoom meeting here. I can put it in the follow-up email if I prefer to keep it safe until they actually register. So maximum number of attendees. So I just want it for one-on-ones. If we wanted to change that, I could add more people. You can also have it to where once they set it, it's done, or you can allow them to make changes. So if they want to cancel their time and redo it, they can do that themselves if you'd allow that on there. All right, so default, show this service on the booking page, perfect. So now going down, that is just the basic details. Availability options. So this is the time increments. So this is a 30-minute meeting, so it makes sense to put it for 30-minute time increments, but I can put them as narrow as 5 minutes. So like I could schedule a meeting at 9:05 for 30 minutes if I wanted to, but I like to keep it just even with 30 minutes. Minimum lead time. This is pretty important. You don't want someone to schedule a consultation 2 hours before they want it. You want at least a day just to give yourself a heads up. And also you can set the maximum lead time. So you can set this in a semester in advance, or you can do it a year in advance. Like I can't schedule, like right now, the max I would be able to schedule out to would be 2/14/2024. Then you can set your custom hours once again. For example, for this one, I just had the 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., but say during the middle of the semester, my office hours change. I can add new hours here, and I can also take away those hours. That won't change any of the existing consultations or registrations that have been set up. I can just update this to have new office hours if I want. And you can also have a different availability during a date range. So for example, spring break, any particular vacation weeks you might have planned out. You can say, okay, well, during the week of the 21st all the way to the 28th, I am not available. So I just want to make it to where people can't book it during that time. And you can keep narrowing that down. You can set many of those custom date ranges as you prefer. That is the availability. Now moving down to assigned staff. This one, since it's just a one-on-one consultation, I just want to do single staff. But again, if I had like a team of people, had a team of technology people, I could assign different staff members as a manager. I could assign that, or I can have the customer pick them themselves. You can keep it anonymous if you have student workers and you want to choose a staff member anonymously, you can change that. And on the custom fields here, this is where we can adjust this information. So I don't need their phone number. I'm just going to hit this check mark here and turn that off. I don't need their customer address, turn that off. And customer notes, I like to keep that on just in case they have any information they want to add to it. Like, by the way, I will be 5 minutes late to my meeting, stuff like that they can add. And here under custom fields, that's where you can, of course, put any kind of custom question that you want. And you can also make these required. So let me just type in test. So say I have this information, like I want their department or their major, but I need that information. I don't want them to skip out on that. I can just click this switch and it will make it required. And that's the same thing with any of these up here. And finally, we have notifications. So you can also enable text message notifications. So if you prefer, requires a premiums license. I don't know if we have that. I don't think I've enabled that. We might not have that one. Never mind. But that is an option if we have a premium license. We can have enable text messaging. But email is more than enough for me. So notify the business via email. So anytime somebody registers or schedules a time, it's immediately going to send the business an email. So whatever business email I have set up, for me, it's my email, my brad.powell. So anytime somebody schedules a time, it's going to send me an alert saying, hey, somebody scheduled a time. It's going to send me a second message too, since it's just me, that I was assigned to it. So it's going to send me 2 emails right now. If it's just you, you can turn this off if you're the only staff member, if you don't want 2 emails. But if you do, or you don't care, I'll leave that one on. Send a meeting invite to the calendar or a customer in addition to the confirmation email. So again, I leave that on just so it's automatically connected to our calendars. There's no clicking the ICS file or anything like that. It's there. Add any additional information. And so whatever you want them to see in their custom email invitation or confirmation. So after they register, I could say like, thank you for registering. It's kind of hidden here at the top. I don't know why it's blocked out. Yeah, but I can add that custom information there. Email reminders, so I can set up, okay, 1 week before the event, 1 day before the event, 15 minutes before. I can set as many of these as I need to. Again, I like to do those about a day before, and then usually people will see their calendar reminder about 15 minutes before. I think that's the average of what people use. But if you wanted to go even more for reminders, you can do an hour, 30 minutes, so on and so forth. So send it to the customer or the staff or all attendees. So if you wanted to send a reminder to your staff to bring certain material to a meeting, you could send this, set up that up. And finally, we have the email follow-up, which I talked about with the one button. You can add any kind of links to this. You can add thank yous. You can add like a feedback form, a survey you could add in here as well. And again, you can do that anywhere from 15 minutes after the meeting concludes to 2 weeks after the meeting is done. So that's kind of the rough overview of what all goes into a bookings. Does anyone have any questions so far? Yes, Stephanie?
Can you set it up so the customer picks how they want to meet, whether it's in person or via Zoom?
Yeah, let's see. You can actually, what I would do is where we have on this page right here, the consultation. What I've done for that is Zoom. And I'll just duplicate this and create another one for in person, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That way there'd be 2 of them here. And whenever they go on to the this page right here, they'll have 2 options. Do I want online or in person? And they can select it right at the start.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Just looking through some of these advanced settings. I haven't messed around too much with them. You can also set the default time zone. Yeah, this one I've had problems with before. I use a VPN at home. So whenever I checked out my Microsoft Bookings page, it showed me stuff in like Central time zone or like the Western time zone. If you click this right here, anytime they set up a time meeting, it will default onto the Eastern time zone. Not a must-have thing, but it's just a nice thing to know. That is under the bookings page category. Just to help prevent some confusion that they might have. You can also set the primary language. And if you have a particular theme or kind of coloring, logos and all that kind of stuff, you can customize that right here. Oh yeah, and the default scheduling versus the customized scheduling that we did. So this is different from the services that we did. Save these changes. There we go. So on services, I could set the availability options here. That would just be for this particular service. So for example, if we wanted to do online versus Zoom, I would have to redo all these settings on that Zoom side. There's a pro and a con to that. So that means that I can customize the hours availability. So if I'm available, say, more hours online than I am in person or different hours, setting up 2 different ones makes sense there. But if I wanted to go on the left here where it says default scheduling policy, if I wanted to keep everything the complete same, this would make it blanket to where whatever calendar or availability I have on this consultation one would be on all of the services that I provide. So if I go back to the booking page, this default scheduling policy, this would be the policy of which blanket statement across all the services that I create. And again, you can set availability ranges. So if you wanted to do vacation time or a week that you know you're not available, maybe a busy event on campus, you can block that across all of the services you provide instead of having to manually do it for each one.
And Brad, just a question, a clarification. If your calendar is updated and it's got your vacation marked or spring break marked, you don't really need to do it in here because it's going to read that you're busy.
Exactly. Yes. Let's see. I'll see if I can pop over and show you mine. So for example, on this day, we had 2 bookings today for all day, but they were only able to do that because I know other events on that day. But for example, I have a TLI tomorrow at 11:15. That 11 o'clock time block would be completely unschedulable. But if I had additional staff, those other staff members could take that time if I needed to. But for just me and my instances of a one-on-one, that time is only available. All right, any other questions? Microsoft Books is pretty cool. We've used it quite a lot, and we're moving more to Slate for the Null Studio and the Fictal, but I really did appreciate what I did play around with this. Yeah, Kathy.
Yeah, so it looks like you took the extra step to make it a Zoom meeting with the Zoom link. Is it okay to use Teams, or do you sometimes run into the situation where people do not have an Outlook account so they can't do it through Teams? Is that why you went with the more universal Zoom?
You hit it exactly, yeah. Teams is perfectly fine, but I think more people on average are used to Zoom. So it prevents less questions or less problems, I think. Now that may change over time. Teams is great. It's great for like if you're talking to another EKU person, but especially in your field, and you might talk to students who may not be signed in to their Office Outlook account, Zoom is a great way to just drop and play kind of deal. So it depends on whatever your preference is.
Okay, thank you.
No problem, yeah. Meeting, is there a comment section for those who want to schedule? Yeah, great question, Heather. So on this services itself, whenever we create this, at the bottom of this, let's see, under custom fields here, this customer notes is the default one, but I can disable that and say, what is this meeting about? Or whatever question you had. So I can select that and make that mandatory. So they can't register unless they fill out that information. For example, on the Null Studio side, whenever they're doing a consultation with our students, they have to say what their class is, what the project is about, what the paper is about. And in some cases, they have to submit the paper ahead of time. So it does help give context if you're scheduling out things to know kind of roughly what you need to have prepared. But very good question. I know, right? This does help a lot with like, are you available at 9 o'clock tomorrow? Or how about next week, 10 o'clock? A lot of those email chains back and forth, you can just say, pick a time on my bookings page and we'll meet then. So it does help a lot with that. All right, well, we're right at time. So I'll stick around if you guys have any more questions, but I'll go ahead and stop the recording. But thank you all so much for joining me this morning. I hope it was informative.